our first order of business is delegates and visitors. Mr. Superintendent, do we have delegates or visitors
We
today?
do not have any delegates or visitors
Oh,
today.
very well, then. We have public comment is next. And before we get to public comment, the item after public comment is naming of the new middle high school. I had asked anyone who wished to speak about naming the new high school to come tonight to speak. So you don't need to use public comment for that. That will be a separate issue. Is there any public comment on any other member, any other issue on the agenda tonight? There is not. We will move to naming of the new middle high school. Is there anyone here this evening who wishes to speak about the name of the new middle high school on Pauline and Payson Street?
You mean on Main Street and Payson Street?
What did I say?
Pauline.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Chavez. It's on Main Street and Payson Street. Ms. Chavez.
I feel very strongly against naming it after someone. I believe that kids going to that school want to be known as high school graduates, not John Jones graduates. I've talked to several kids, no seniors, but juniors, and 8th graders. And this is their feeling, that naming it after someone, they do not feel they want done. They want it to remain as it is, the Winthrop Middle School, high school.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Ms. Chavez did send me an email, which I appreciate. Anybody else wish to speak regarding the name? Ms. Flavin.
People that I've spoken to feel the same way. They want to have it be Winthrop Middle School, Winthrop High Middle School, and not named after anyone living or dead of the town. Winthrop.
And how do you feel? What do you think the name should be?
Strongly the same way.
As I said, I received an email from, is there anybody else? I'm sorry. I received an email from Ms. Chavez, who is here and has spoken. I received an email from Dottie D'Onofrio, who has suggested it be named Winthrop Viking School. I received an email from Mary Lou Osborne, who is the former chairperson of the Winthrop School Committee and is a co-chairperson of the Winthrop School Building Assistance Committee. And her preference is to name the school Winthrop High School. And I received an email from Vinnie Crossman, who is the head of the Viking Pride Foundation and is also a member of the School Building Assistance Committee. And he wrote, with regards to naming school, I'm very much a traditionalist. I feel strongly that they should remain Winthrop High School and Winthrop Middle School. We had the privilege of graduating from Winthrop High School, and so should future generations. A lot goes along with the name of a school, including traditions and alumni connections. Because of work obligations, Mr. Crossman could not be here this evening. Those are the 4 emails that I received regarding the naming of the school. Mr. Superintendent?
No, I'm sorry, just someone had walked in. That was their intention.
Okay. We're discussing the naming of the new school.
Sure.
Do you have anything to say about that?
I
Is that
do.
Okay.
And actually,
If you could tell us your name and then let us know what you think.
the son, Lieutenant Colonel Curley's coming in actually to talk to you about that. But I can give you all.
Just stick the chair in that door.
Oh, I see. I took it out because I thought it was too noisy.
Hi, how you doing? Hi. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Hi. Hey, how are you doing? Good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you wish to speak?
Chris does. Chris?
The new business?
Yes, they're already there.
Okay.
It's a good, well-run meeting. Yeah, I'd like
Chris, if you
to,
could just tell us your name, please.
sure. My name is Christopher Hurley. I live on Johnson Avenue, and I'd like to discuss today the proposal about the naming of the new Winthrop Middle High School. And I want to thank you all for your time. I'll make it brief. First, I want to say that, I'm a son of Winthrop and a former Viking player, and I understand that there's been a lot of emotional discussion surrounding the naming of this new school and how important the title Winthrop is to that school. And I just want to say that I am also strongly in favor of any title for the new school having the name Winthrop in it. I think it's imperative. That stated, if there is any opportunity, because it is a middle and a high school, to name one or combine after a person, I'd like to put forth and nominate my father, Brigadier General William Hurley, who most significantly was a teacher at Winthrop High School for 32 years. So packages that are sent around that detail his biography and accomplishments. But just for those of you who don't know him, I know many in the town do know him. He began teaching in Winthrop in 1968. He taught here through 2000. He was the senior high school math teacher. He taught the calculus program. He also taught everything in between. He was the the mathematics coordinator for K through 12. And he also had a distinguished career in the National Guard and in the United States Army, rising from private to the rank of general. So my request for your consideration is, if you do name the school, you determine to name the school, I think that naming it after somebody, as we have in the past, who's been an educator and contributor to the town of Winthrop, such as the Edward B. Norton School, the Edward B. Newton School, the Dalrymple School, Arthur Cummings School, Gorman School, but I think naming it after a Winthrop High School teacher such as my father would be appropriate. I also think that naming it after a military member really honors the sacrifices of the men and women of Winthrop who've served in past wars and past conflicts and who are serving today. And then lastly, I think it's very unusual for a son or a daughter of Winthrop to enter the military and rise through the ranks to become general officer. It's pretty unique. So naming a school after a general, General Hurley, would just add to the prestige and the pride that already is within the town of Winthrop. So, any questions?
No, we just got this. We have not had a chance to read it
Okay.
yet, but thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
I have one question. Hamilton Wenham. I know, are they called the Generals? I'm trying to, what did they do with the naming of this?
That's their nickname, as we're the Vikings, they're the Generals.
Right, but is
General
it,
Patton lived there.
I know, but is that part of that school name? I'm
No,
asking.
it's not.
I know it's Hamilton
No.
Wenham and the
No, it's not,
Generals.
but it is the
Generals is-
family of General
yeah,
Patton. So
yeah.
his granddaughter owns a farm up there. I think she's dedicated it for a different type of cultural pursuits and student pursuits.
Okay, just past practice kind of thing, just
Yeah,
asking.
no relation to my father.
No, I know that. I know the school was named for the Generals. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks
for your
presentation.
I was a
Thank you.
teacher.
Oh, that's wonderful.
No, it's okay.
I think that, especially having gotten this, we won't take up a vote on the name this evening. But give this some consideration, and at some point in the near future, we can take it up for a vote. That's okay. Thank you. Next item of business is the minutes from July 13th and July 27th.
Motion to accept the minutes is circulated.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Holden. Any questions or comments on the minutes? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstention, I was absent.
Mr. Perrin abstains.
I'll abstain from the 13th.
President Gill and I vote yes. 2 abstentions. Curriculum.
At this time, we don't have anything under curriculum. We'll have it under the other
Okay.
issues under unfinished.
I don't believe we have any subcommittee reports this week, so we can go right to the superintendent's report.
Oh, I get to talk. All right. Exciting.
Hold on.
You got me on
Go.
2 minutes? Okay. Well, first of all, I know the last time I sat here 2 weeks ago, I was 3 weeks ago. When I came back, I was totally jet lagged, so I didn't even know where I was at. But I just wanted to take a brief moment to tell you that the incredible experience that I did have in China. It was a wonderful time. I learned a lot in how the Chinese school systems work. One thing that's very important to know is, and people will say, boy, a lot of Chinese students will come over they like to go overseas for schools in high school. Partly that is because Chinese students, they only have free public education up through 9th grade. After 9th grade, they must pay to go to high school, whether it's in China or wherever. And so a lot of students do choose to come over to America or Canada for that being. My role on this trip is I got a chance to interview potential students who are looking to come to America, starting with students from 8th grade right up through high school. And if they're interested in, the main thing that they were looking at was how is their English language and how would they adapt when they came. I visited 6 cities. One of the cities, I was in Beijing. One of the cities you may recognize, Tianjin, which was just recently in the news in regards to the giant explosion that happened, where they had an equivalent of 21 tons of dynamite from that chemical explosion. Then the other areas that I had a chance to go to was Qingdao, which was the home of the Olympics back in the sailing program, Fuzhou, Changsha, Guangzhou. And so those cities were, I had a really good time, really enjoyed meeting with students. And what's wonderful as you go and experience students from all over the world is that students are students. And they all have the same desires that our students do. And they want to excel, and they want to do well. So I found it to be a very good experience. I would not want to live in China. It's just so fast-paced, but I thoroughly enjoyed and would go and visit it multiple times again. And for a person who does not like Chinese food, I seem to survive. I enjoyed the food as well. It was a wonderful trip. So, moving on, in 2 weeks, I'll give an even more update as we go to opening day. As I just want to remind everybody that 2 weeks from tomorrow, teachers will report on September 1st. And on Wednesday, September 2nd, our students will arrive. This is before Labor Day this year, so just so that folks understand that. And our students will be in school on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for that week, and then we will celebrate the Labor Day weekend. So this is a little different for Winthrop. We haven't been in school before Labor Day, and probably the last time it was when Labor Day was so late. So that will occur in 2 weeks. So we're getting closer to the opening of school. Bus registration. Bus registration this year will begin tomorrow at the William P. Gorman School. And do you have the time somehow? Just what time?
I think tomorrow morning it's 8 to 10.
Right, 8 to 10 in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I believe it's a little later. But there's been phone calls that have been made out there, that have been made to families. If you are in the Fort Bank School and you would like to register your student to take the bus, there are various areas around the community that you can do so, mostly up in the Maze, and then on Pleasant and Winthrop Ave, those particular areas, as well as the Point, the parks, the 2 parks, Jaws Playground and the playground begins with M. Massa, thank you, Massa Playground. So those, you want to register, there is no fee, but you do need a card to register. And then the Cumming School stops are not at the Maze area, but there is a Cumming School stop at Pond Street, and then there's the Point Shirley, Dawes, and Massa. And then the high school is only at Point Shirley. That's the only stops that we offer at the high school. So please, if you have the opportunity to get down to register, but you're going to register at the schools, not down here at Town Hall. That's the difference. The same thing goes for those folks who are interested in substitute. Substitute registration is done per school this year. So, and they will be, we've posted things on the website when those will occur. And so any person that's interested in substituting, they must go through the school orientation on that. And the principals have been setting up those dates. We've been communicating that with our HR, human resource person, so if someone calls who's interested, she refers them to the schools on when those dates are going to be. Last but not least, the new school. If you have taken a ride down, you will see that in the new school, currently, they are now almost, all the windows are almost in. The only areas that the windows are not in are still areas that they are utilizing those open spaces to get materials into the building. But they are probably by the end of this month, they should be what we call airtight in the building, so that they no longer will have leaks or anything from rain, and so they'll be able to start to work with inside the building. They have been doing constantly going inside. A lot of framing has been put in place, and as you'll see today that I noticed, they're now putting on the outer mason blocks. The brick work is pretty much completed with the exception of the auditorium area, but now the outer mason blocks are starting to go up. So you're going to start to really get a clearer picture as you'll see what the outside looks like. On target, on time, on budget.
On budget.
And so we're pleased with that. Many people are asking me, when is the school going to be ready? And the projected date is for us is June 30th is when this should be done with construction and all of that. So we're on goal for next September. I can move into personnel if you'd like. We have a lot going on in personnel. So currently we have under new hires, as you'll see, I'd like to just read those through. We have a few new hires that I'd like to go over. Claude Diana Alabaku is a math teacher at Winthrop High School. Ivy Bernier, speech and language pathologist. Yes, Ivy was here before. She had left and now has returned. Erin Kalishman was here as a teacher at the Cummings, and at one time had left and now has returned. John Cross, who was a ESP at the Cummings School, will now be a special education teacher at Winthrop High School in the Life Skills program. Alyssa Cummings and Amanda Cummings, who are not related to each other and not related to the Arthur T. Cummings over across the street, have been hired. One is a grade 4 teacher and one is an ESP. Kathleen Doherty, special education teacher at the Cummings. Thomas Dole, science. Megan Dooley, science. Catherine Demina, math teacher. Sarah Donovan, who was here last year, but she was on a long-term sub for the year. She has now been officially appointed. Bridget Dalia, physical education teacher. Jillian Dunn, history teacher. Sarah Egan, art. Mary Francis, grade 1 and 2. Susan Janako, ESP. Darlene Gall, who was here last year as an ESP, but now has been a permanent. Madison Hinrich, grade 7. Kate Kelly, who was a Spanish teacher 2 years ago, who left us, who is now returned back to Winthrop. We're happy to see her come back. Grace Kim, science. Amber Miller came on and halfway through the year last year and now has been appointed full-time. Alyssa Moore is an ESP. Erin O'Rourke, speech and language. Matthew Seymour, many may know Matthew. Matthew worked for Kids Only for multiple years and now has wanted to make a career change and come on to the Winthrop Public Schools as an ESP. Christina Shaw is our school psychologist. Michael Smith, music, Winthrop High School. Kevin Zulak, science teacher. Lauren Tracy, speech. Megan Weatherby, special ed. Roja Yelson, kindergarten. And Helen Yurchenko, science teacher. So those are currently the positions that we have, that we have appointed thus far. In regards to resignations, we do have a couple. And that does happen this time of year. Oh, wow, it's nice to have the lights, thank you. It is with great sadness that I write this letter to resign my position as reading specialist at the Arthur T. Cummings. I've accepted a position as a literacy coach in Cambridge Public Schools. As Winthrop Public Schools continues to grow and expand, I would love to one day return in a different capacity. Winthrop has been my home for the last 3 years, and I will genuinely miss every colleague I've had the pleasure of working with. And that is Jean Cortazar, who was our reading teacher. Another long-term teacher who has been with us for multiple years, Miss Lauren Walton, has accepted a library media specialist position in another school district, which I know is North Reading, and so she will be leaving her position here. Julie Varnoff, who was an 8th grade science teacher, has decided to teach in the town closer to her, which is in Wilmington. So she says that she greatly values her experience at Winthrop Public Schools. The opportunity's been given to me as such, organizing science fairs, chaperoning field trips, advising class. It's been an invaluable experience. Her decision to leave was not easy, but it is primarily due to location and new opportunities it may bring. She wishes everybody good luck. Those are the folks that have resigned. We did have a retirement over the last month. Ms. Siskamanis, who was a world language teacher, who's been in the system for 16 years. Ms. Siskamanis, it was her intention to retire on 8/19/2015 with the Winthrop Public Schools. Ms. Siskamanis was at Winthrop High. When she first started her career here, she started at Winthrop Middle School. She taught 8th grade, then she went to Winthrop High School. She was at Winthrop High School for about 10 years, well, more than 10 years. And then returned to Winthrop Middle School, and then this past year she served over at the Arthur T. Cummings School in the grades 4 through 7 capacity. She did put together a request for a retirement sick day buyback for the remaining sick days. However, because she's only been here 16 years, in the contract, she doesn't qualify for the 20 years on that. So that, I would say, you would not be able to vote on that tonight. And I believe it wouldn't come to you at this point. And then finally, the postings that we've done, as you see, we've done quite a few different postings, and some of these positions have been filled, but speech language, pathologist, literacy. So recently what we did with the literacy math specialist is we had, when Ms. Cortazar resigned her reading position, Mr. Herity had decided that he felt that wanted to also have literacy and math combined. And so he, instead of it just being reading, he's posted it as a literacy math specialist at the Cummings School, because he feels he wants to hit both areas. So that's why you see that posting. We've had 2 lunch monitors at the William P. Gorman School. Spanish teacher for grades 4 through 7 at the Arthur T. Cummings. High school history, which we have filled. Grade 8 biology teacher. JV lacrosse coach, which I believe has also been filled by our new phys ed teacher that's coming on. So ESP positions, high school physical education teacher, which was the one that I just mentioned. And then we had 4 special educational instructional leadership team positions that will join as lead teachers with the others. So at this time, that is the report on personnel.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the superintendent? Thank you, sir. Next item are the warrants. We have a warrant SVW16-2 in the amount of $103,977.84. Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Motion approved. Second.
Second by President Gill. Any questions on the warrant? We'll vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Next is the payroll warrant. We have one payroll warrant this meeting. It's dated July 1st, 2015, in the amount of $146,708.97. Motion to approve that. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Holden. Any questions or comments on the payroll warrant? We will vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? I'm sorry. Any noes? Thank you, President. Abstentions? I abstain. Next, we have budget transfer requests from Ms. Eccles.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If I may too, there's also the other budget transfer request too that's in the back of your packet. I realized that when I was looking through it. So I'd like to be able
Is
to...
that the last page?
That's the
right there?
last page there, the one that was made to Miss Elizabeth Zielinski. So we can do Miss Eccles' transfer request first, and then if I may, I can briefly describe what this one is.
Okay. We'll we'll do that. We have about 2.5 pages of budget transfer requests from Ms. Eccles.
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion by President Gill. I'll second that. Any questions or comments on what may or may not be the final budget transfer for the last fiscal year?
I think she said fine.
I think she said that before.
I did, but this is the real final.
This is the final.
Any questions or comments?
I'd
Yes,
like
sir.
to make a comment. I
Yes.
would like to thank Ms. Eccles for all the work she's done for us on all of these. It's not easy closing school accounts and making sure that everything is to the penny and getting all of these transfers over, and she does an outstanding job, and
She does.
from our department, we very much appreciate it.
She does. And sometimes I have poked fun at Ms. Eccles because we get a 5-cent request, or I believe we've had a 1-penny request. But that just shows how painstakingly she goes through that budget to make sure it's exactly correct.
Well, thank you all.
There's a 2-penny request this time, 2 or 3, isn't it?
Do we have that in here? Probably. We will vote. All in favor of approving the budget transfer request, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Mr. Superintendent.
So on this memo that I put together on August 12, 2015, which is to Ms. Elizabeth Zielinski, where I say, "Dear Mrs. Zielinski, this letter will serve as authorization for me to transfer $20,000 from the current school budget to the DPW for field maintenance." And what I wanted to explain to you on that is that we budget $20,000 a year, and DPW handles all of that for us. So what the holdup has been over the last couple of years is that when the money, when they're out there doing stuff, and then the process of going through POs and getting it in and stuff is slowing down the system. So Mr. Caller has asked, can you just transfer that amount to us so that the school department gets the credit, but you transfer it and we'll take care of it. We'll make sure that everything is done accordingly, and there's no, things will be done on a fast pace. I checked with Ms. Eccles, she was in agreement with it, but when they asked me to do this, I felt it would be also, well, if I signed off on it, but also got school committee.
I think it's good that we vote just to,
Right, just to have that. And I don't know if you have a question for Mr.
Ms. Eccles, this meets with your approval, handling it this way?
Yes, it just makes it quicker, and the town does it a little bit differently than we do, and this will just make it quicker for them to be able to get what they need.
We would spend the money anyway.
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yeah, I just wanted to, it'll still get captured in our net school spending, which I think is the important thing. So I don't see any problems.
And if it doesn't work, we can always go back. I mean, it's not like it's etched in stone. I think we should go for it.
Yes, sir.
Is that an FY16 transfer or 15?
16.
16 transfer, right. It's in our current 16 budget.
Right.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve that budget transfer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Gill. So I'm sorry, a second by Mr. Holden. Any questions or comments on this budget transfer? We will vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Thank you, Ms. Susan. Next to the building and grounds, we have a request from the Winthrop Gymnastics Academy, Joni Star Dancers, Mass Start, and we have a number from the Pullman Fort Banks PTO and one from the Winthrop Youth Football.
Motion to approve all.
Motion by President Gill to approve them all at once.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Holden. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I oppose. Abstentions? No abstentions. Next, in the unfinished business, we have a review of the policy language.
So at this time, I'd like to have just Mr. Woods and Ms. O'Connell just tell you exactly where we're at in that process for you all. So,
Thank you for having us here tonight.
At the request of Mr. Scomro, I had, I put the language into each one of the policies. And when I sent it to you in a PDF, we sent it out that Monday after I got back from the Cape Cod Superintendent Conference. In my eyes, it was the best summary I could give you at the time. We've had some discussions with not only Colby Brunt, who is our attorney, but also with Jean Hurdle, who is our equity officer, equity
Liaison consultant.
And she's asked us to make some, and again, I don't want to use the word minor, because I guess there are no minor changes when you're talking about a policy, but some subtle wording changes in some cases. Give you an example. Colby did pick up on what you had picked up on, Mr. Perrin, that the school committee should not be in either place on that first page of the progressive discipline policy. All right? So we've made that, now that change has been made. You do not have that yet. And the reason you don't have it yet is I figured rather than go down this pipeline of me giving you weekly changes, I figured we'd just wait until we get the final word from both parties, from legal and from our equity liaison. We're in the process of reviewing both. They're reviewing everything we've given them. And I just would beg, not beg, but I'd ask your indulgence to just kind of wait off and put this sort of on hold, and then when the policies are ready to be voted and revised, we will update all the policy manuals at that time. I don't think it makes any sense to do them, to only revise them yet again. So we ask that you just kind of be patient with this process. It's a process that's been undergone, and we're down that road now. So I'd rather go down the road once, but properly and cross all the T's than to just keep going down the road. Jen?
And in terms of the home policy, the district is actually undergoing coordinated program review, not just in special education, but also in regards to inventive. So in looking at the policy that was included in the school committee manual, just to have it be reflective of the current standards and practices under the until it was revised. But like Mr. Wood said, the attorney and the equity liaison, I would like them to look over it before I present it to you at some time.
They'd like to just sign off on it and say to you guys, we're confident that these are good. And I know you guys would like that, so we're hopeful that the 31st will have it.
Do we table this, so we just...
That'd be great.
Well, we just want to make a motion this evening, and we'll take it up again.
Yeah, I'm not, and again, I'd like to, it may not even be the 31st, because according to Jean, she's working now in Brockton and Bridgewater, because she does compliance checks for different colleges, and there's a whole world of compliance issues at the colleges right now, so she's tied up from now this whole week. She said she will start on our policy immediately on the 23rd, and we will start to get feedback from her that week following. Unfortunately, our mentor program for our new teachers is the 25th and the 26th, so our timing is a little tight, but we'll do our best to make sure that the new teachers understand what they're required to know, with also the following caveat that this may change moderately or slightly in the weeks to come. So.
Mr. Woods, I appreciate the way you presented it to us too in our packet. It was clear what was changing, what was not changing. It was very easy to understand. I appreciate it very much. Any questions for Mr. Conwell or Mr. Woods? Thank you very much. Go back to public comment. Next is public relations. Ms. Chavez, I'm sorry.
The superintendent just went through a lengthy amount of names of people who have hired and positions that are still open. I didn't hear anything about CETs, and I thought there were 2 CET openings, one at the coming school at the high school, because is that gentleman
Right.
not now the assistant, or is he gonna
Right.
keep that job?
Right. That person hasn't yet, we haven't signed yet, so as soon as they sign on.
For which position?
CET.
For which one? Both?
The assistant principal and the CET, I have to go over their
That's what I'm
contracts
saying, is he
month to
gonna
month.
stay on as the,
He's going into assistant principal.
so he's not gonna be the CET anymore?
Right, and we posted that, and then we have somebody else that we've offered the CET position for, so we,
And what about the coming school?
the coming school, we did appoint that was Amanda Colella, we appointed that a while back.
Oh, I didn't see that one,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that was back a while.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Mr. Brown? Mr. Holden? Okay. We did put executive session, but I don't see any need to go into executive session this evening. And so, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. Motion by President Gill,
Second.
second by Mr. Holden. Any questions or comments on adjournment? We will vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, unanimous, we're adjourned.